Yeti.
How are you? Hope you're fine. This is the Shy Yeti Show.
Okay, where you go?
Why have I got horns?
Oh no.
Oh, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Oh, there's going to be some drama ahead.
All I wanted was a pie, and then I hatched out of an egg.
Okay, bring the mic over. He's ready to record.
Is it metaphorical? Is it deep? Is it deep?
Boy, he's not all that shy, is right. Gee.
Blimey, Governor, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Oh my goodness.
Hello, Paul.
Quack, quack, quack.
Excellent.
715.
Bonjour et bienvenue au podcast The Shy Life.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Shy Life Podcast with me, Paul the Shy Yeti. How are you doing? I'm all right. So what are we up to this episode? Well, we've got Uncle Warren back. We're going to talk about more TV and, you know, things are bound to happen because they always do. So let's run that theme music. And when we come back, Warren will be here. Okay, run that theme music.
Darling, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Keep it rolling, keep it rolling.
Yes, but it's a positive thing, Paul. The highlight, the Shy Life.
I'll go anywhere for a potato.
Delicious.
Hello, campers. How are you?
Oh,
Go Shy Yeti.
Oh, I hope he hasn't found out my secret. Think he has.
I loved the Yeti. Yes, it's my favorite thing.
If you thought that was bad, just listen to this.
Yeah, I'm strangely drawn to Yeti Uncle John's ankles as well.
I could eat my body weight in crisps.
Has anyone seen my hot sausage?
It's all gooey and meaty and yum, 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 yum.
I don't think I'm ready to speak about it. Here comes the grizzly. Hi there.
It's the Shy Life Podcast.
I can't wait for it to begin.
I like that. Yeah.
Marvelous, Paul.
Oh dear, I can't believe that old bag is still around.
Warren, come in. Hello, how are you doing? You Professor Yapple, the carved wooden bookend.
I have a wooden bookend.
Oh,
Do you like it? I think it's quite prominent in these shorts.
We have to explain to our American listeners who Professor Yapple was. He was a carved wooden bookend in a TV show called Bagpuss, which was about a load of toys that were in a junk shop window or an antique shop window that came to life in the middle of the night. But
Don't they all?
Yeah, of course. Dear. So, are you ready to talk about
to life at the middle of the night? Sorry?
Are you ready to talk about some more TV? I've got a year.
Let's roll our sleeves up.
Well,
put a knotted hanky on our head, and let's dip our feet into the world of ancient television.
Yes, yeah.
Gosh, that sounds a bit partridge, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, I'll tell you what you're going to do in a minute. I'll just put the kettle on before we start.
You won't fit you. You've tried it before. We had to call the fire brigade.
No, it's fine.
You only got one extremity in there, and quite frankly, you could have lost that.
Well, you know, you live and you learn. Before we start talking about TV, I need to show you something that.
No, not in public.
Oh,
It'll frighten the horses.
Cromitty's he's looking after a Budgerigar, for a friend, and he's trying to teach her a dance. Some sort of for one of them TikTok
Is it
videos.
the Captain Yates dance?
Well, I don't think so, but who knows? But
Macarena?
Could
is it the birdie? Is it a dance to the birdie song?
Well, that would make sense.
That would make sense.
I don't know whether we'll see Yeti Uncle John. He's not about. He's over at the Magpie Hut. But
may I ask a question about this bird?
Yes.
The proportions of this bird.
Yeah.
Is it a small bird or is it a big bird?
Well, I'm not sure. I haven't actually seen it. Well, that's why I thought we'd go down to the lab and see him before we start recording. Okay. But
take it some millet. Have you got a sack of millet anywhere?
Well, I don't. I'll let Cromitty deal with that.
Birds like a bit of millet. Like to have, keeps their pecker up.
Yeah. as I say, I don't know if we'll see Yeti Uncle John because he's busy, but that's usually a good thing. But
I was doing a crossword the other day, and one of the questions is found in the bottom of a bird cage. 4 letters. Finishes with IT.
Oh.
And apparently it was grit.
Oh.
I got it wrong. Apparently it was grit. I got it wrong.
I was going to say seed, but you said IT. But come on, let's go downstairs.
Hey, the Shy Yeti's not a guy, you will forget it. Hey, listen to us, jump on the Shy Yeti bus. Our show's so much fun, like an audio current bun. The Shy Light podcast from Shy Yeti's tastier than the best spaghetti. Hey, Shy Yeti, he's not a guy, you will forget it. Hey, listen to us, jump on the Shy Yeti bus. Our show's so much fun, like an audio current bun. The Shy Light podcast from Shy Yeti, it's tastier than the best spaghetti. Hey, Shy Yeti's not a guy, you will forget it.
Cromitty. Oh, Paul, how are you? Oh, Warren's here. Hello, Warren.
Cromitty, give me a hug. Cromitty, give us a big hug. Cromitty. My word.
You've got a lot.
You've got a firm grasp there, Cromitty.
You have lots of lumps and bumps in all the right place.
Oh, you have a lot of love to give there, Cromitty.
Yes. Are you going to come and meet my bird? Well, it's not my bird.
No, I'm going to come and see your bird, yes. Going to come and see your bird. What's your bird like?
It's quite nice. Her name is Millicent. Yes. She belongs to a friend of mine. But I'm supposed to be helping teach you to do this dance music or dance movements because
I brought something for Millicent. Mm-hmm. It's a honey ring.
Oh gosh!
Say ta, daddy. Ta, daddy. Ta, daddy.
I don't think Millicent speaks much. Lots of tweeting. There's lots of tweeting going on.
Could it be the iPods that are you funneling music through those iPods that you put on Millicent?
Millicent's wearing headphones. She's listening to the latest one by Kylie Minogue because she's supposed to be doing the dance. It's recommended by Linda Carter. So. And
there'll be a lot of spinning around and changing into
tight
gear.
That fits because Kylie.
Wearing cats and kites and fighting for our rights.
Yeah, and also Kylie does the spinning around too, so it all comes together.
She does, yeah.
I don't know, as I say, whether we'll see Yeti Uncle John later, but apparently he tried to do one of his knockoff things where he tried to do a cover of Kylie's latest song, but he called it Bangy Bing Bong. I mean, I think because the song's called Padam and it's supposed to be the sound of your heart beating. So he thought, well, Bangy Bing Bong, that's also what a harp does. Apparently, I don't know. Maybe if you've got a metal harp.
He has a heart of stone, so goodness knows what noise his heart makes.
Yes. You'll never guess.
Probably very echoey.
You'll never guess what. I saw the cover of the CD. He got some session singer to sing it, and he called her. He called her Carly, not Kylie. Carly, Carly, Min Ogre, and she was this. When I saw the picture, she looked like Kylie, but she was a quite short ogre lady.
Min the ogre. Min, come in, Min. Tonight, you'll play your cards right. You could be in the top 10.
I'm not sure he's going to shift any of them records.
The problem is that Min couldn't appear in daylight because she turned to stone.
Yeah, he did them on. He did them on vinyl as well. So I mean, some people like vinyl.
Did he now? I can never stand up when I'm on vinyl.
Well, it's difficult, but
Something like the kitchen floor.
anyway, Cromitty, Warren and I are going to go back upstairs and talk about some TV. Oh, guys, yes, that's fine. Well, I'll keep teaching Millicent to
Millicent
dance.
looks a very happy bird, though, because their head is bobbing up and down, going from side to side. They must like some Kylie.
Yeah, I think so.
Like some Kylie.
I think so.
That bit of a big bird for a budgerigar. Are you sure it's a budgerigar?
Well, that's what my friend told me. I've had to find.
Talons are about the size of my hand.
Oh well, maybe she just kept growing. I'm not sure. The thing is, I had to find a remix that was about 5 times longer than because the actual song is only about 2.5 minutes. So I had to find the extended release. So because otherwise she was having to start. Just
I
get
wonder
in.
why you had an LP playing there. Yeah, I wonder why you had an LP.
Yeah, she'd get into the swing of it, and then it would stop, and she'd have to start again. So anyway, well, we'll let you get on with that, Cromitty. We'll speak to you again later. And yeah, I don't know. Would you like to see Yeti Uncle John later on? I'm not sure.
I think we might have to stick our head round the corner to see what skullduggery he is up to.
Yeah, well,
we know what he's like.
Yeah, we can do that.
If he goes quiet, I worry.
Yeah,
I'm very much worried.
We'll do that. We'll see how long the year that I've chosen takes to do, and then we'll see about nipping over either in the middle of it or when we finished. But you never know with these years. Sometimes they take ages. Sometimes they go by very quickly. But,
yes, and I need to speak to Yeti Uncle John about the trousers he sent me. He said they were Moss Bros trousers. They appear to have been used by someone else.
You really shouldn't buy things from his eBay page.
No, I thought by the cut of those, he says they're definitely Moss Bros. Yeah, they were Moss Bros. I can tell you that.
No, his particularly his clothing range really stinks. But
yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
Listeners,
trousers they were.
Listeners, we're just going to play a little bit of music so that we can get into place. And when we come back,
your favourite tune.
Yeah, we'll be upstairs with our cup of tea, talking about. Well, I'm still not going to let you know what year yet, unless you've read the show notes, in which case you'll know. But there we go. Okay, Cromitty, we'll see you in a bit. All right. Yes,
Bye,
Paul,
Cromitty.
have fun.
Bye. We'll come for a hug later.
Oh, good. Come on, Millicent. Let's get dancing. Oh, dear. Dum dum, ba-dum, bum bum.
Hello, this is the smell cast. It's here, it's built to last. With Toffee, Smelly and his best friend. They're really moving fast. Hello, this is the smell cast. They'll leave you quite aghast. Toffee, Sassy and Taffy. It's really such a blast. This is the smell cast. We are the smell cast. The smell cast. Hello, this is the smell cast. It's here, it's pretty vast. With Toffee, Smelly and his best friend. So now in the past. Hello, this is the smell cast. It'll leave you quite aghast. Toffee, Sassy and Taffy. It's really such a blast. This is the smell cast. We are the smell cast.
Warren, is your tea okay?
My tea is wonderful. I can imagine that he's going to have that bird in a tutu soon, isn't it? And they're going to be doing parla dobles. And other meringues.
It gives him something to do anyway. But
yeah, he looked really happy. He's looking really well, I must say. Really well.
Yeah.
Worried about that firm grip, though.
No.
Bit too firm, if you ask me.
Actually, there was there's been a bit of a revelation quite recently. Yeti Uncle, it involved the magpies. The listeners won't know about this because this was quite recent, but you remember that Cromitty went out with, he had a partner called Milo who he went out with, and that all fell apart.
Yeah.
Well, Cromitty was always saying that, well, Milo never communicates, and that's one of the reasons they split up. And then, quite recently, Yeti Uncle John, he was doing some work on the Magpie Hut, and he found all these letters in shiny envelopes, which turned out to have been sent from Milo. Turned out that Milo had been communicating, but he couldn't do it face to face, so he wrote it in letters. But the stupid thing is, he never told Cromitty. He never sort of said, "Oh, did you get my letter?" He must just presume Cromitty was ignoring him.
Oh, that's so sad.
I know. But I mean, Yeti Uncle John told me, and it was a case of a problem shared is a problem doubled. He was very top secret about it.
Us, yes.
So I went to Bettina because she used to be our agony aunt, although she never got much use, and she advised us that we
a lot of agony.
Oh well, she advised us to tell Cromitty, and actually because I think things have moved on for him potentially. We're not too sure yet, but he's obviously happy wherever he is. Or we know where he is. He's down in the lab, but wherever he is emotionally, or he's happy, and he just kind of shrugged his shoulders and said, "Well, if he'll send a letter and not check that it ever arrived or refer to it, how would I meant to know?" But it's too late to go back now. So I was expecting him to be a lot more upset about it, but he's obviously happy where he is. But oh dear, the dramas we have on this show sometimes. But
it's drama after drama.
I know.
Well, the new season.
Yes. Well, I've chosen a year. We
Sorry. It's always good. Always good. You always choose good vintage, Paul. You have a very good stocked cellar.
We're not exactly running out of years. I mean, we could do 1066, but I don't think there was much TV then. We're not running out of years, but we are.
Right.
Well, and we like to keep to the 60s, 70s, 80s,
like to keep
maybe
to
90s.
The years that they broadcast in.
Well, we don't. Yeah, but we're also less interested about things that have happened in the last 10 or 20 years. Maybe we'll do them if we run out of years, when we run out of years. But anyway, we haven't done this one. I thought this time we would talk about the year 1980.
1980. I love 1980 because it was a changeover, and it was leaving beige and brown things. I don't know if our friends in America and Canada and the rest of the world suffered as we did with the 1970s being made out of Hessian and being the colour beige, because everything was beige in the 1970s, right down to the food and cars and the houses and the television set made of wood. Did you have a television set made of wood?
I vaguely feel like we might have done it, but such a long time ago. But
you were a youngster, weren't you? You were a mere glint in the eye in 1980.
I was 6 or 7 at the beginning of 1980. I can't remember.
Beginning of the 80s, vibrant colours, shiny steel. Oh yes, gaudy. Fluorescent colours were yet to come in the 80s. I did like the fluorescent colours in the 80s. Did you?
Yeah. I mean, I've sort of almost been aware of them more looking back, because I was never sort of like, to say, watching Doctor Who, I wasn't sure like how 80s was to say Tegan, who was a character that was from the 80s. Some of the other characters were from but I guess. By the time, the trouble is with Tegan, she started off in an air hostess costume, so that's not something you can really date. The things she wore after that wasn't really. I don't think that was particularly.
I don't know, a funky top in. I particularly like her leather skirt and funky top in Resurrection of the Daleks.
Yeah, I think that's more. I think that is more of its time, more sort of 1984.
But but it was that transition period, isn't it, from the 70s and the 80s, and there seems to be this time-honored tradition that it's a time when people have a different outlook on the future, and fashions will change. They will change, but we are still not riding around in our space cars wearing silver suits and taking tablets to subsidize our food intake. So I think I was robbed.
It feels like there's been less fashions in the last 20 years, or maybe even 30 years. Feels like, whereas certain decades you could go flares or
flares have come and gone for about
a few times,
about 200 years actually.
Yeah,
you look back at them, fashions haven't changed that much.
also like holes in jeans have come and gone about 3 year time. We're repeating ourselves now. We've run out of different fashions.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, nowadays the 80s is very much in. It is the way that people are having their hair done, the clothes they wear. The 80s is back, and I'm cool with the 80s. That is one of my favourite decades. Is the 80s? I'm really cool with that.
I just wonder if we'll ever be able to stand back and go, oh yeah, the fashions of the 2010s were, because I couldn't tell you any fashions. I mean, sure, within the fashion industry there were lots of trends, but they didn't necessarily follow into the high street, or maybe they did and I just wasn't looking. But
all I'll say to you young whippersnappers out there, keep your clothes for 10 years. It'll come round again.
Yeah. Well, weirdly, the first TV show we're going to mention,
pants, obviously.
Well, yeah, get them from Moss Bros.
I have religious ones; they're particularly holy.
The first TV show of 1980, we have a debut of quite a famous show that began on the 1st of January 1980, and yet it is set in the late 50s, early 60s. It's Heidi High.
My word! That the program that launched a dozen careers.
The first season is supposed to be set in 59 to 60, so, or I don't know, maybe more than the first season, but anyway, that's when it was set. But then there were quite a few, like Tracy Ullman had hits around that time, and she sort of did covers of sort of late 50s, early 60s songs, those style songs. So I think the 50s and early 60s went through a bit of a renaissance in the early 80s. As it also did at times with bands like Darts and Shwaddy Waddy in the 70s. And also people like Shaking Stevens were quite big in around 1980.
Yeah,
they were doing covers of.
I brought a friend of mine. I brought him for his birthday a Shaking Stevens single. I remember that, and we had Shaking Stevens and Bucks Fizz. And the Shaking Stevens single was £1.50, or what you call $1.50, and most sort of singles were about 99 pence, and that was expensive.
Yeah,
I can remember thinking, I've been ripped off here. They've sold it to me for £1.50, but yeah.
Wow. You know how I'm musically, I'm still quite a trendsetter, and I have, I listen to modern music and all that sort of thing. Sometimes I get recommended by people like my friend Adam from the podcast Foul Monkeys over in the States, or Callum sends me stuff, and or I find stuff. I think once you start playing things on YouTube kind of goes, oh, he likes Kylie, oh, he might like this one. So it does start tipping you off. But Callum sent me a song. That if you'd have said that I'd have been adding a song by this singer to my 2023 playlist, I would have said you're joking. And the singer was Shaking Stevens.
You are joking.
He released a song which is not a cover, not a parody, not something that you could laugh at. It's just a good song. And I think maybe the album. I think perhaps he's reinventing himself at the moment, or perhaps hasn't done anything for a while.
I heard he was reinvented himself, because to you and me, he was the guy that wore blue denim trousers and blue denim jacket with a white T-shirt on with the collar up, very 50s style. But yeah, he's making a big comeback in a big way. Yeah, I really like that idea.
And this song, it was like, I listened to it. I thought, oh, what's he sent me? Because I knew Callum like Shaking Stevens back in the day, and I listened to it and I went, okay, that's just a good song, I'll put it in my playlist. But if you'd have told me I was going to be putting a new song by Shaking Stevens in my
by Shaky,
I would have been like, you're kidding, that'd be silly. But
he makes sounds as though he's got the DTs now, doesn't he, because he's of that age. And here's the washed up star Shaky Stevens, and we call him Shaking because he just continuously shakes. But good luck to him. I like it when established people who you think are just a fad, and let's face it, the way Shaky he was a fad during the early 80s, comes back and really knocks you off your feet and goes, wow.
When we've done music episodes,
let's hope for Chesney Hawkes. Please no.
Well, we looked at when we looked at various bands, we've looked back, and I think Shaking Stevens had been around in working men's clubs for a good 10 years before he became famous.
Cleaning the toilets.
I mean, I can't remember if I ever did listen to any of the early stuff, but it took a long while for him to. But then there are lots of people. I mean, Kylie. Going back to Kylie, she'd sort of was starting to struggle a bit in the 90s, and then was reinvented and has sort of continued successfully ever since. So sometimes it does take. People sometimes have a lot of bands have a 3 or 4 year lifespan.
Hiatus, yeah. Or they have a hiatus and they come back. But yeah.
So Heidi High went on for. Let's have a look. Went on for quite a few seasons, most of the 80s, I think, from 1st of January 1980 to the 30th of January 1988.
Do you think then, did you get exhausted with Heidi High because it was such a long-running show? Can you get exhausted with it?
I'm not sure if I ever really watched it avidly anyway. Ran for nine seasons and 58 episodes. 53 of them were 30-minute episodes, and then there were some specials that were more like 40 to 60 minutes. It was. I tend to think of it along with things like Hello Hello that also ran for a long time.
I just always remember the somebody sat on the horse riding back the panto horse, and the Punch and Judy man is sat there watching it go across the horizon, and he opens his bottle of scotch and downs his bottle of scotch. I remember that as being quite a monumental moment. It was to Leslie Dwyer. I mean, Leslie Dwyer had been on films and on radio since the 1920s, but yeah, that was very funny.
What I was going to say is that I kind of probably. I don't know whether Heidi High is better than. I think I look down on it a bit in the same way as I look down on Hello Hello. But then when I watched quite a lot of seasons of Hello Hello much more recently, I was like, actually, this is really good fun. So I don't know whether Heidi High is really good fun as well. I was just a bit of a snob as a child.
I was getting a bit worried because you have programs like Ain't a Hot Mum and Are You Being Served, and with the exception of Ain't a Hot Mum, which came with a conclusion, other programs. Heidi High did come with a conclusion, didn't they? Because they closed the camp down, but it seemed to sort of peter out as far as ideas were concerned, and it seemed to slowly die a death if it had been on for quite a while.
Yeah.
But then again, all shows are guilty of that, I suppose. But when you've got an established show like Heidi High, and it's one of those things, if you can find your audience's happy place. So if you think about the audience in those days would have stayed at a holiday camp at some, that would have been their main audience, that age group who would have a memory of staying at a holiday group or meeting the Butlins Redcoats, something like that. And so, Heidi High always appealed.
A more recent show that was certainly set at a sort of holiday camp was that Benidorm, and I saw some seasons of that and quite enjoyed it, but I think that probably went on too long, and they probably got to the stage where they were relying on celebrity cameos, and it kept sort of looking like it was going to stop, and then they'd do another season. And it's difficult sometimes. Not every it's difficult to do like a 48 hours where you go, okay, that's it, after only 2 seasons, but tempting to go on if they're offering you the money. But
it's the ratings war. It's the rating war, dear boy.
Why I'm on episode 600 and whatever I'm on.
You won't succumb. You won't succumb to commercial temptations, will you?
Offered me the money to stop yet, so I'm not stopping.
As the bishop said to the actress.
Yes. On the 6th of January 1980, and I'm sure we've mentioned this show at different stages, different points in its history, but we're mentioning it on its debut. It was the debut of Family Fortunes on ITV when Bob Monkhouse presented
you are my hero. I watched that 3 days ago.
The first one?
The first one, yes. Yes, the first one. I loved it. Popped up on my YouTube. And I went, I'm going to see how it is. And I saw the first one, and Bob's usually good with jokes. Bob Monkhouse, for those of you who don't know, he was a famous stand-up comedian, and he sort of purloined his trade through comedy films. He as like any other star, he would adapt to the situation he was in, and he became a bit of a game show host for a while, didn't he, in the 80s and 90s? And I think people forgot he was actually a natural comic. He was a really, really good stand-up comic, and bless his heart, before he passed away, he started going back doing stand-up and going around the universities, and they loved him, didn't they? It was a bit like Frankie Howard. Before Frankie Howard passed on, he did the tours around the universities. He became cult figure.
Yeah, he was also known for supporting new comics, and he was a sort of almost like a comedy historian and also a film historian, and he had lots of tapes that lost tapes that he had in his collection, which if wasn't for him, we wouldn't have them today. So.
Absolutely. But the things with Bob played the cheesy game show host. That was the persona he put out as the comedian, and I think he deliberately did that. He had the catchphrases, he had the smug grin to camera, he had the little salute, which was his monocle when he came onto stage. He would always give the crowd a bit of a salute, thank them. But he would always appear to be cheesy because he created this character of a game show host, which went through all the things he did, like Family Fortunes, Bob's Full House.
Yeah, he also, I think we may have discussed him doing Opportunity Knocks at one point, but then jumping around from BBC.
If we remember, he before your time, Paul, but in the early 1970s, he played a game called it was Golden Shot. Or if you remember Celebrity Squares, America had the equivalent of Celebrity Squares called I can't say it.
Crisscross Quiz or something.
That's the one, yeah. And we stole it and brought it over here as Celebrity Squares, and it got reinvented in the States as Celebrity Squares. But he created this character, this flamboyant character of a game show host wearing outrageous clothing, and there's a huge, great 70s lapels. I remember that. I used to love Celebrity Squares because it was just a load of TV stars appearing in a game show, and he was just so cheesy.
I heard lots of kind of good supportive things about Bob Monkhouse, and then I actually read an example of exactly this when I was reading one of Paul O'Grady's autobiographies. Apparently he was a massive Lily Savage fan, was Bob Monkhouse, and rung up and was so enthusiastic and helpful and supportive towards Paul O'Grady, and he wouldn't necessarily he's obviously very interested in comedy of all sorts, not because he wasn't like a young man by the 90s, but a showbiz person. So, but
Lily Savage was quite unique and quite refreshing in the comedy world, and I think that's what he saw.
Yeah,
and I think he went, that's got mileage in it, because here you've got somebody in full drag with a very sharp-witted observation of life, but it's that northern accent that really tops it wonderfully, and that caustic eye for fleeting out or just a off-the-cuff comment that could be. I could imagine that, Paul O'Grady's Lily Savage in the Working Men's Club was lethal, absolutely lethal, and I can imagine that appealed to Bob, because Bob likes to slay an audience and control an audience, and I reckon Bob would have been brilliant in a Working Men's Club. We would have heard jokes from him that you wouldn't expect him to say on the TV, which would absolutely slay them.
Hey, he's Shy Yeti, he's not a guy you will forget. Hey, listen to us, jump on the Shy Yeti bus. Our show's so much fun, like an audio current bun. The Shy Life podcast from Shy Yeti, it's tastier than the best spaghetti head.
next, I'm kind of surprised this wasn't like a New Year's Day thing. I wonder if you can.
It's not Digby, the biggest dog in the world, is it?
I'll see if you can give a rough guess of what the film might have been. But on the 20th of January 1980, the largest ever British TV audience for a film is recorded when some 23,500,000. Anyway, you know what I mean. Over 23 million, 23 and a half.
23 million, yeah.
Viewers tuned in for the ITV debut.
So it's not Moonrakers.
Well, it is a James Bond film. It's actually, and it is Roger Moore. It's actually Live and Let Die, which by then is like 7 years old. But yeah,
not one of his best Bond films.
But yeah, it's 20th of January is very random, isn't it? You think that it would have been a New Year's Day film, but we've often said when we've looked at some of these years that some of the films they choose at Christmas or New Year don't seem like the sort of films that our family, very far. They're not very far than some of them.
They couldn't have been much on that Christmas. I wonder what BBC One was showing opposite it.
On the 24th of January. This is a bit slightly boring one. The Independent Broadcasting Authority announces that in the next ITV franchising round, they will offer a national license for breakfast television on ITV.
Oh, yes, the giant eggs. Do you remember the giant eggs at the end of TVAM?
Yeah,
I always wanted one of those. They were on top of a building, weren't they? On top of the studios.
I think at this stage they were talking about it, but I think it took another 3 years for it to happen. But
yeah, because the BBC got there first, didn't they?
Yeah, I think we've talked about that when we've talked about like 83 or 82. But this is when it first came into sort of this is what we'll be doing. But it's going to take 3 years to do it. But
knitted jumpers came back into fashion.
Yeah,
because if it wasn't the BBC hosts, it was the ITV hosts of their morning breakfast shows, all wearing knitted jumpers. It's been hot in that studio.
Yeah. On the 26th of January, ITV showed the feature-length pilot of Heart to Heart.
It was all together now. Moida.
With Robert Wagner and Stephanie Powell.
Make sure you pronounce that right.
Yes. I do have a couple of seasons of Heart to Heart.
My parents used to watch that religiously. They loved it.
Yeah, I think I probably quite liked it because I liked things like Murder, She Wrote, although I don't suppose I necessarily watched it every week. But on the 28th of January, we have the first edition. I don't think I'd have been watching this. The first edition of Newsnight, broadcast on BBC Two. But,
would have been Robert Keyes would have been introducing that. That's a good memory for you. Yep, Newsnight, that would become a staple. Still going now.
Yeah.
Current affairs TV program.
Yeah, it's been around a long time.
Been around, just like us.
Yeah. We've got another debut on the 1st of February, talking about game shows. We've got the debut of Play Your Cards Right with Bruce Forsyth.
You have got a beautiful year this year. You really have, Paul. This is just, dear, yes. Get those dolly dealers dealing. I can hear it in the other day, I watched a Brucey Play Your Cards Right. Yeah. In fact, no, it wasn't. It was Andrew and myself was playing Fortnite. We're watching someone's reaction to Play Your Cards Right. Yeah. And an American chap had said, I'm going to take a look at a game show called Play. And he loved it. Absolutely. And he was getting really involved. And I must admit, even though we were playing Fortnite and we're in different parts of the county, the headphones on, we were really getting into this game show, going higher, lower. And that was the thing. That was another wonderful game show because you brought the audience in and you must have done this at home. You must have shouted higher or lower.
Yeah, I did
when
watch.
You're guessing the cards.
I'd never say I was a big fan of Bruce Forsyth though. So I did. I don't know. I did watch that show. But I don't know. For some reason I took against Bruce Forsyth. But
did you?
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't find him.
Is it the chin?
I don't know. He was no Bob Monkhouse, I'm afraid. I'm sorry.
No, he's never Bob Monkhouse. I mean, I think a lot of things changed for him when he left the seminal Generation game because he owned Saturday nights on British telly, didn't he, for a number of years with his Generation game. But with something like Play Your Cards Right, he went over to ITV and his career sort of peaked and troughed. they found him the right sort of niche to put him into, which was game shows again, and easily enjoyable game shows.
He was somebody who was known for completely different things, comedy and all sorts, like back in
Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. Do you remember him in Bed Knobs and Broomsticks?
I don't know. I do.
I saw that film when it came out 8 times. That's terrible. And he was the spiv during the Second World War, the Flash Harry type with a big fedora hat, dark pinstripe suit, carrying a flick knife with a dodgy chaff, doing a Cockney accent.
Next up, we have a show called Gay Life, and it was the first a series specifically aimed for a gay audience. It ran for 2 series, 1980 to 1981. I think I might have even watched. I think some of them were on YouTube. I can't remember which one I watched.
Is this a series that starts with the triangle? We're having a triangle at the beginning of it, because I know there was the. I can't remember when people came into wearing triangle badges and things.
I'm not sure, because there's no. Graham Chapman contributed in one episode.
Oh, right.
But
what was it called again?
Gay Life. There were 17 episodes, 2 seasons. But is
that mainstream, or is that?
It was LWT. Looks like they did like episodes on what's his name, Blunt.
Crispin Blunt.
The politician. Yeah. And about. There's an episode about disco. There was some that were sort of they sound a bit like Kilroy or something, where it's a particular, do you agree with da-da-da sort of thing.
Goodness me, look at this. So for February's edition of that, they take a look at London's city newest gay disco. Guess what it's called?
Heaven.
Yeah, Heaven.
Yeah.
That's still going today.
It looks like the episodes do have titles, but the Wikipedia doesn't necessarily list each one with its title. So, but anyway, lots of different subjects there. And on the 19th of February, we have the debut of Take the High Road.
Oh my word! I thought that was a 70s. Do you know? I genuinely thought that was a 70s sitcom.
It's a Scottish soap opera. I don't think I ever watched it, even though I like soap operas.
It was on at lunchtimes, wasn't it? In the afternoons.
It ran from 1980 to 2003, I think. There were, I don't know how many episodes. There was only, I say only, but I did about twice as many as this in much shorter time. They did 1,517 episodes. I guess. Does it say how? Oh, they're 30 minutes, except for a couple of specials. Well, I suppose it's got more episodes than Dark Shadows. So, but considering it ran such a long time, I don't know how many times it was on a week, but yeah, I don't really know what Take the High Road. I don't really know what Take the High Road is known for. Like, I don't know, some sort of like with Brookside, or say oh well, there were certain plot lines that even if you didn't watch it, like the Body Under the Patio in Brookside, or
I don't think they had patios in Scotland in those days.
No, probably not. Actually, looking at there's a list of episodes, and Don Houghton, I presume it's the Don Houghton who wrote some Doctor Who stories.
Oh, Don Houghton, yeah, he wrote some High Road, yeah.
Yeah, he's listed as writing early ones. It also looks like. Oh, I see. I guess it's more of a. I was imagining it being a soap opera in the style of perhaps like a Corrie, where it's on all year round. But it appears that there were seasons, and perhaps there were gaps. Oh, it seems like later, certainly in the early days, it looks like it would be on for a certain amount of time of the year. But then from 1987, it ran more continually.
You say that was an STV program, wasn't it?
Says that. From February 1987 onwards, the series was broadcast all year round, twice a week. And in May 1993, the series became weekly. So it sounds like it was constantly changing when it was on. But
I can remember it being all the place because there'd be big gaps between it.
Yeah.
Behind me.
Another debut. There's a few debuts this year. 25th of February, the political sitcom Yes Minister makes its debut on BBC Two.
So America has West Wing, and we had Yes Minister. Or admittedly, theirs was serious and ours was comedic.
Yeah.
But there is something about Yes Minister that is so relevant today in today's politics in this country. It just says so much, and it's a great foreshadowing of the future, really, and a real eye opener. And when the current Prime Minister used to watch it at the time, Margaret Thatcher, and used to turn around and say, "Yeah, that's exactly how it is." You think to yourself, this is done with some real loving care and observational qualities, isn't it? When you come to being able to produce a program like of that ilk.
And of course, later on, it went to being Yes Prime Minister because the character in Yes Minister eventually became.
Yes, because he voted for the great British sausage, didn't he? Didn't we all?
Oh, definitely. In March, oh dear, no, not oh dear. I mean, it might be a little bit boring, but the very first InVision CFAX transmission is broadcast on BBC One on the 12th of March, 1980.
I can remember as a child walking past TV rental shops, and they were a thing for those of you who thought, who would rent a telly? In those days, we rented tellies. We rented a telly. And they had coming soon and a TV, a colour television. Even in the 1980s, not everyone, I can remember a couple of people I knew didn't have colour tellies. And colour telly was still, a big status thing, wasn't it? Because they were really expensive, and so were colour licenses. And it had CFAX on this telly, and it said CFAX, everything you ever wanted to know that's happening in the world, you can find it on CFAX. And I thought that was amazing. I remember the bit on Tomorrow's World, the program looking at new scientific developments, had an issue with showing us CFAX.
I remember because ITV had teletext, and I'm not quite sure how much later that happened.
I think that's a couple of years later, actually. It wasn't far behind. And the thing about CFAX, in this 24-hour society that we live in now, where you can look at CNN, you can look at Sky, you can look at BBC News 24. Yeah, if you wanted up-to-the-minute news, you went to CFAX and put 101 in.
I think it was teletext I preferred because it had like quizzes as well, and it had well, maybe CFAX did as well, but I think there was a sort of soap opera type thing going on as well, like a text soap opera with a cliffhanger, and I remember liking that as well.
I can imagine you writing for that, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been good. So on the 2nd of April 1980, Violet Carson makes her last appearance as Ena Sharples on Coronation Street. She was a character who'd been in it since 1960. So
that does make me feel very old hearing that.
She did her 20 years and left soon after. But I presume she was there in episode 1, wasn't she? I think Sharp was there.
I think she was, yeah. For those of you who don't know who Violet Carson was, she was the archetypal battle axe that lived in this street that everybody thought she didn't have a heart and was a nasty, cold-hearted bitch, basically. And she could be acidically tongued. She could be very witty. But there are some episodes, especially when they thought a child was trapped under a lorry that had overturned. She was absolutely, you could tell she had a heart. She was a spinster that hated everyone, but really had a heart deep down, but didn't like people to see it because it was a vulnerability. And I think she's wonderful on Coronation Street. I mean, she was one of the favourite characters Tony Warren wrote for. He really observed his characters when he grew up. And he knew a lot of people like the character that she played.
Another soap opera that's popular again at the moment because of a DVD release is Crossroads. And on the 8th of April, 1980, they dropped the show from 4 episodes a week to 3 episodes a week. It was shown Tuesday to Thursday. Apparently, the 4th episode, they had thought about doing a spin-off series called A Family Affair. There was a soap called something like A Family Affair later in the decade or early 90s, but they never did it at the time. In the end, that's probably one of those things they tell the production team to sort of sweeten it, and then kind of go, oh, sorry, now we've stopped doing it now, haven't we? So
Yeah, I remember sort of it's like watching the cartoons before the news used to be on the BBC channel, on the BBC One at 5:30. They used to have the cartoons, your magic roundabouts. It became iconic, and the ratings for those sort of things were really, really high. On ITV, the program that preceded the news was Crossroads. And that's why it got extremely high ratings. And also, it was a regional program using regional dialects and characters. People just enjoyed it. It wasn't heavy going. Some of it was completely laughable, but it was so well paced and aimed at the audience and the audience is, they come in from work, they're going to watch the news. The news is going to be heavy. In the 1980s, it was, because we were going through a lot of turmoil financially. People didn't know whether they were going to have jobs, and you needed something light before it. And along comes this light drama called Crossroads. It got panned throughout history as being, wobbly sets and outrageous acting. But people loved it, didn't they? And I think people do like a hefty slice of cheese before they're whacked with real life.
Yeah,
I really do.
I'd probably been the other way around. I'd have been tuning into Crossroads and turning off for the news. I don't want to know about real life.
No, definitely not.
Look, there goes Big Fatty. He isn't even fat. And yet there upon his head, there sits a poodle in his hat. He really is the strangest man. At least he hasn't got a cat, because cats do not like traveling, and in that hat, the cat might chat. Big Fatty, Big Fatty, he has a poodle, not a catty. Big Fatty, Big Fatty, when will he ever hear from Patty? Hey, look, there goes Big Fatty. He likes to have a chat, and there he upon his head, squeaky kitty in his hat. He really is the oddest man. At least he doesn't own a rat. No, rats don't like to travel, and in that hat, that rat might chat. Big Fatty, Big Fatty, he's kind of sweet and kind of batty. Big Fatty, Big Fatty, I'm really done now. That's really that it.
Now, there was a controversial sort of docudrama on the 9th of April called Death of a Princess. It was about a fictitious Middle Eastern Islamic nation and a princess and her lover who were publicly executed for adultery. Apparently,
were they beheaded by any chance?
It's quite possible. I know the government of Saudi Arabia weren't very happy about the program.
Yes, there was a satirical program called Not the 9 o'clock News, and it was shown at 9 o'clock whilst the news was on an opposite channel on BBC. And I remember they took the mickey out of that particular program and how it riled the Saudis, because the Saudis didn't like it because they thought it mocked the system that they had and how dare Westerners comment on how they run their country. And there was a lot of, I remember this very well, there was a lot of toing and throwing and soul searching between the British and soul searching between the Saudis to see how they can repair this terrible diplomatic incident that had been created over this production. It was quite interesting to see, and as a 10-year-old, it was seeing the world through a different lens, if you like, and hearing about this program. But yeah, it's pretty hard hitting, and the problem was it was too close to home for the Saudis. But like a lot of regimes like that, a lot of Western countries are involved with them, and our country was at the time, still is, with important things like, well, to them, isn't it? They sold arms to the country, and we bought their oil, which was another thing. And we'd just come out of an oil crisis, and the last thing we wanted was to upset them and have to pay a bit more for our 4-star.
The next, I'm going for something very serious. It's sort of just hard. Sometimes it's hard to transition because the next thing is a.
Would you think chopping a princess's head off with a scimitar is comedy?
No, the next thing is comedy. That's what I'm saying.
Oh right, okay, we can go to comedy.
Difficult to transition from something serious.
No, it's nice to slide into a bit of comedy. It's like sliding on a wet floor. You're heading for a comedy incident here.
I'm not 100% sure how much comedy was in this comedy show, but again, it might be one of those things that I don't remember thinking that much of it at the time, but who knows? Maybe some things improve, some things are even worse than you remember. But what are your memories on the 12th of April of the debut of the comedy sketch show Russ Abbott's Madhouse?
I'm going to dig a big pit in my garden.
Yeah, well, this is
I'm going to bury Russ Abbott alive.
Yeah, they made it for four seasons, but
4 seasons too long they were.
Yeah,
it was. Oh, it's treadmill television, isn't it? It's not. It's just a comedy sketch show that, might have been popular for 5 minutes, but hasn't got that much longevity. And all you remember is, oh God, characters that he played, like the Scotsman.
Yeah,
He'd wear that ginger wig and that terrible accent.
They don't date very well. The thing is, they don't date very well because we're sort of entering the alternate comedy era, and yet Russ Abbott wasn't part of that. So he's very much.
I think he was more sort of 1950s comedy era. To be fair, I mean, then you had Bella Ember being Blunder Woman. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
But yes, it was. Russ Abbott was not funny. Not funny. The thing is, he went on to do a lot of stage shows, a lot of musical stage shows, because he's a very talented singer. But he went on to do a lot of musicals on the West End. And he seems to have been forgotten about as far as that's concerned. They all sort of remember him for Russ Abbott's Madhouse.
Wasn't he in one of the later eras of Last of the Summer Wine as one of the regulars?
I may would have been. That's right, because he'd lost a lot of his hair, hadn't he, by then? And he was quite bald. Yeah.
In 17th of April, BBC begins showing the US sitcom Taxi, starring Judd Hirsch, Danny DeVito, Andy Kaufman, and Christopher Lloyd. I don't think I ever really watched Taxi, because if it was being shown around this time, it's a bit before my time. So I know of it, but.
Yeah, I remember Taxi. I used to get really annoyed because I could never work out why they wouldn't leave the confines of and actually drive round in their cabs. It's only because it wasn't based it was all studio based. And this was 1980. I mean, it's already 2 years old, and in another 2 years' time, it would have finished.
Yeah, but ran from 78 to 82 in America. Oh,
that's another series that made a lot of people very famous. Christopher Lloyd. I mean, whatever happened to his career? He didn't do much after that, did he? Just rode around in a car.
Danny DeVito. I mean, you met his twin brother. You don't want to mess with him.
It ran on ABC between 78 and 82, but then transferred to NBC for one final season. So, what else have we got? We have 26th of April, the Dallas spin-off Knots Landing makes its debut on BBC One.
Oh, yeah, Knots Landing. We had things like that, didn't we? We had Knots Landing and Falcon's Crest and things like that were all spin-offs from the Dynasty and Dallas eras, yeah.
Apparently,
did you like Dallas?
I never really watched Dallas at the time. I have got a few seasons because I kind of almost watched all of Dynasty now. I did buy a couple of seasons of Dallas to see whether I'd liked it. And also because the early seasons of Dallas are that late 70s, early 80s, I thought, well, I'll enjoy it just for the fashions, if nothing else. So I'll report back at some point when I actually get around to watching them. But
do you like that sort of fashion then? Late 70s,
I like late 70s, early 80s. That's one of my eras. That's one of the eras I like in retrospect. I wasn't really aware of it at the time, but.
Oh, come on! The listeners are dying to know, how old were you in 1980?
I would say about 6 or 7, depending on what time of the year.
Oh, bless your heart! Oh, you hear that, folks? The big R there. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you how old I was.
I think you really have. I think you told us you were 10. So.
I was. Damn it! Yes.
Apparently, Knots Landing was shown on the same time slot as Dallas when Dallas wasn't on. Also, I guess they were copying Newsnight. 28th of April, Thames launches its long-awaited Thames News Bulletin to follow news at 10. Although apparently it had supposed to be coming out in 1978 and was delayed due to union problems. That's a long delay. But so in 5th of May, both the BBC and ITV interrupt their scheduling to a live broadcast footage of an SAS assault, which ends the Iranian embassy siege.
Goodness me, yes. For those of you who don't know, and I can remember this very, very clearly. What happened was a few days beforehand, some terrorists entered the Iranian embassy in London, took some people hostage, one of which was a British bobby. And I remember I was watching Brannigan, the John Wayne film, where he comes over to London as a police officer to arrest somebody, and they cut it off. That will stop. All of a sudden, they go, "We're going over now to the Iranian embassy, where there seem to be some developments." And I remember that so clearly. And there's this. You could see the SAS coming down on their ropes, and you could see them all blacked up with their machine guns and all these thunder flashes going. And there was that huge, momentous moment where the explosion goes off, where they throw the grenade in through the window. Very, very stuck out really well. And they showed this for about 5 minutes, and then we went straight back into Brannigan. It was really weird. It was like, okay. It was very weird.
Very weird indeed.
Because it sort of it launched the career of people like Kate Adie.
Then it became the thing with Kate Adie was, do you remember sort of the 80s, 90s? If Kate Adie was sent to an incident on the news, it had to be serious. Or if it wasn't, by the time she arrived there, it was going to be.
On the 22nd of May, Blue Peter interviews two of the stars of Empire Strikes Back, Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher.
Never heard of them. What was that film? Was it part of a series of something? I've never heard of it.
Sure. Apparently, at that point, Hamill tells people what the next one's going to be called, even though it was about 3 years off at this point. So yes, he also apparently predicts that there will be future prequels. Like he thinks, I don't know whether they at that point they knew that 3 was their lot, but. I guess maybe there have been hints that one day they were hoping to do more. But on the 24th of May, the fantasy game show The Adventure Game makes its debut on BBC One. We like that one.
We like The Adventure Game.
Yeah,
what was your experience when you first saw The Adventure Game?
I don't think I saw it because it was one of those shows that they only did 4 seasons, but it was over about 6 or 7 years. And I think I'm probably more familiar with the later seasons. I now have the DVD box set, and the early seasons are a bit different, or at least the first season or second season are a little bit different with some structure. Some of it is similar, and some of it's they sort of did the crossing the sort of pattern floor. The shapes and things, but it was how we may have spoken about the Adventure Game before, but how would you describe it to those who haven't heard us describe it before?
Well, it's always very difficult to wonder who it was aimed at. Was it? I definitely think it was younger audience, because it had. I always wondered, because it was always put on at 6 o'clock, and I always thought it was sort of children's television. Really, the alternative for the news, wasn't it, on BBC One at 6 o'clock? It was a nice mixture of everyday faces doing a little bit of acting, because they have to suspend their beliefs of what's happening around them.
They're supposed to be up in space, aren't they?
Yeah, and a lot of them seem to sign into it and quite enjoy it, because they're given little tasks to do, which could be mathematical tasks to work out how to get something, or they could be practical tasks to obtain a disc of some kind. And it was quite interesting. And then the only thing that I didn't like, to be fair, was, because I thought it was a bit shoddy, was the special effect of the vortex at the end of where they all got killed off if they didn't take the right.
Yeah. That didn't come in until later on either, did it? That was although that's the era I remember.
In the first season, they arrived by intergalactic tube train, and I found that fascinating. How a tube train, sort of I think it was something like a Central Line tube train, would manage to make it out of the Earth's atmosphere to another planet. I found fascinating.
Yeah, the first season has Leslie Judd as one of the contestants, and then she comes into it as a sort of spy, sort of bad character in the second season, and she was a Blue Peter presenter, and she's one of my first repeat presenters I remember, and I remember liking her. So it's probably a good thing I didn't see the Adventure Game, because I would have been upset if she was a baddie, I think.
Well, originally she lost it, didn't she? And they kept her there. She decided to stay, and so it gave it a little bit of character. So she was sort of, I don't know whether she was a bit bitter with the people that managed to get off the planet, and she was stuck there. So she'd make it as difficult as possible for them.
On the 26th of May, BBC One airs the third season finale of Dallas, and this is the Who Shot JR. There was a bit of a sort of Who Shot JR sort of mania during the summer of 1980, and we had to wait until November 1980 for the fourth season to be screened.
And you know who shot JR? Who shot JR? It was his secretary, and who was she?
I can't remember. Oh, it was Kristen Shepherd, played by Mary Crosby.
Bing Crosby's. That's it. Bing Crosby's granddaughter.
There was a song, I Shot JR, Who Shot JR. Was that by the Baron Knights, or was that by the Wurzels? I'm not sure. Baron Knights.
I think it's Baron Knights, yeah. I can remember all the cars going around with bumper stickers going, I Shot JR.
The only thing we've got for June is on the 23rd of June, ITV airs the 2000th episode of Coronation Street. So, yes, and they've done a lot more since, but particularly as that was back in the day when it was only twice, 2 or 3 times a week, I'm not sure, but certainly not as many as it has been for a long while. I think, Cromitty, what's wrong? Oh, Paul, there's been a little accident. You haven't gone and stood on Millicent, have you? No, Paul. I just wondered, have you seen her up here?
From Fatbird to Flatbird.
I haven't.
Movement.
We've not seen her up here, no. Don't tell me you let her escape. Well, I turned my back for a moment and she's gone. Oh dear. I'm going to have to keep looking. My friend will be very cross.
The fledgling has flown the coop.
Look, do you want us? We in a little bit we need to go over and speak to Yeti Uncle John. Do you want us to keep an eye when we go over in that direction? Oh, Paul, if you will, that would be great. I'll keep looking in the opposite direction. All right. Well, I mean, I'm sure we would have seen Millicent if she'd have flown up the stairs past us. So, you know, we'll go and speak to Yeti Uncle John. We've just got to finish doing this TV thing. Is that all right? Yeah, yes, Paul. It's fine. Oh dear, Millicent. Millicent, padam, do. Oh dear, I thought she might hear that tune and come flying, but oh dear. I'll see you later, Paul. Yeah, we won't be long, but we'll nip over and see Yeti Uncle John. All right, Paul, thank you. Oh dear.
Oh, that's not good, is it?
How did she? I don't know how she's probably gone in the air.
Probably picked the lock or something.
Or was having a sleep in the air conditioning or something.
Oh no, that could go horribly wrong. Especially if they go to the... Yeah, you're thinking what I'm thinking, aren't you? There's going to be a big explosion of feathers shortly.
Yeah, well, I'm also thinking of episodes of Prison Cell H where people get trapped and there's fires. And I hope there's no fires going to be happening in this episode in my flat.
His name is Matty. His growl is kind, his clothes aren't tatty. In fact, he dresses like a king. Bow ties and hats, all kinds of thing, all kinds of styles. Now I must confess, that's not how most growly monsters dress. He's my monster, he's dressed so well. He even has trendy smell. Matty is his name. His claws are clipped short, never fierce, kind of tame. If you meet him for tea, then you're in for a feast. See him out on the town, he's the bestest dressed beast. His hosts are the best, they are really on trend. He's a monster indeed, but my very best friend. He's our monster, he's really a treat. Our monster with the hairiest feet. Monster. My favorite favorite monster's name is Matty. His growl is sweet, his clothes are natty. In fact, he dresses like a queen. Bow ties and hats, he'll sure be seen. All kinds of looks. Don't you agree that he's the smartest monster that he could ever be? He's my monster. He is dressed up so swish. My monster. He is just such a dish. My monster. Matty is his name. His claws are clipped short, never fierce, kind of tame. If you meet him for tea, then you're in for a feast. See him out on the town, he's the bestest dressed beast. His hosts are the best, they are really on trend. He's a monster indeed, but my very best friend. He's a monster, he's really a treat. A monster with the hairiest feet. He's a monster, he is dressed up so swish. My monster, he is just such a dish. He's my monster, with a smile oh so bright. Hey my monster, he won't give you a fright. Baby monster, and Matty's his name. Darling monster, and he's heading for fame.
Let's press on with the rest of 1980, and then we can get over to Spaghetti Uncle John. July, there's the Summer Olympics in Moscow. Yeah, we'll move on to August. August. We want to remain consistent in our respect for sporting events, which basically means we're not going to discuss them because neither of us are that interested.
To me, that sounds a very good idea.
No, I mean, to be fair, you may, if you're listeners out there who are sporting fans, don't be insulted. It's just that we know nothing about sport. We're not interested in sport. We can't even pretend to be interested
that kind of sport anyway.
Mm-hmm. So it's best we don't speak about something we have no knowledge. I mean, some people would say we have no knowledge of TV.
How is your ball control these days?
Oh, fluctuating. I'm hoping to get a bit more use out of them soon. August, 30th of August, we have the science fiction series Buck Rogers in the 25th century, makes its debut on ITV. Now I'm trying to
I've been talking a lot of Buck Rogers with Martin just recently.
I guess we're about a year behind at this point because it started in September 1979 and only lasted till April 81. So, yes, another one of those things where we're also almost finishing by the time we get around to discovering it. And funnily enough, on the 4th of September, you wouldn't have thought they'd have had both these shows on at the same time. But on the 4th of September, ITV shows Battlestar Galactica. You think you'd have them one after another rather than at the same time. But Battlestar Galactica started in 1978, so we're even more behind. But did you watch either of those shows?
I didn't watch I watched Buck Rogers, but I didn't watch Battlestar Galactica because I thought they were roughly the same. And we were suffering from a lot of imported television then in the early 80s. And I thought, oh no, not another thing. And, I liked Buck Rogers in the 25th century. It was quite quirky and quite fun. But I just it didn't grab me apples to keep me a long standing sort of viewer. Plus, we only got bits and pieces. I think we only got the first two series over here.
Yeah, with Battlestar Galactica, it only had one season, and then a 10-episode Galactica 1980, which was already over by the time we bought it. I'm surprised that we obviously sold. Maybe we sold it in a job lot with Buck Rogers or something. I'm not sure.
It could be. It's not. Is it from the same studio as it may well be? Maybe a case of that. Look, we'll throw this Battlestar Galactica in for nothing if you buy the Buck Rogers series.
On the 6th of September, BBC Two launches a computer-generated clock, probably the first in the world. Great, thank you, BBC.
What time is it? I don't know. The battery fell out.
And the same day, the family comedy series Metal Mickey makes its debut on ITV that starred a 5-foot silver robot becoming the member of a household. The show attracts an audience of 12 million. Goodness.
I remember, it was. Oh no, it was Southern Television. It was nice at the time, but like a lot of series, it just didn't. It really didn't last long.
I don't. I know. Obviously, I remember it, but I don't remember if I really avidly watched it.
Ready, steady, here we go. It's Metal Mickey.
He's a lot of fun.
He weighs half a ton. He won't be if he falls on your foot.
Yeah. It was sort of, it's described as being a sort of a bit having the appeal of Star Wars, the Daleks, and Mork and Mindy.
Really?
That was what the creator described it as. It ran from 80 to 83 and had, I don't know if that was 3 or 4 seasons. It's not a very good Wikipedia page because it doesn't give you a lot of information. Irene Handel was in it.
Yes, unfortunately. It was a bit. It was a peculiar series that was supposedly funny.
Oh, it might have only had 3 seasons. Apparently, the first 2 seasons were released on DVD, and the 3rd season was due to be released, but I don't know if it ever came. But the weird thing is, it had one of the directors and producer was Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees.
Yes. Now, Mickey Dolenz went on to do a lot of things over here, didn't he? A lot of kids' programs over here as well.
Yeah, it's one of those sort of, how did that happen? Now, what else have we got? We have Watchdog is launched.
Right. Now, I'm going to take issue with this. Watchdog was a consumer program, but in what guise? Are we talking it
like it was part of Nationwide in 1980?
Right, okay. In that case, it's fine because I'm happy that you put that right. Because Watchdog was part of Nationwide, and it was a 10-minute segment on Nationwide. I remember it when it first started. Yeah,
it became a series of its own right in 1985. On the 13th of September, ITV began showing the Hammer House of Horror TV show, which I enjoy and have on. Well, I've had it on DVD. I've had it on. I think I might have even had it on video. I have it on Blu-ray now as well.
I think we've all had it with them. They're lovely. I do like them. They're much fun.
Oh, there's something about Welsh language TV, which I think we'll leave because I don't think it'll be very interesting to many of our listeners unless they're from Wales. Edmund Dell is appointed the chairman of Channel 4, while Jeremy Isaacs becomes its chief executive. That's not very exciting either, so I don't think we need to stop on that for very long. In October, the BBC's lunchtimes children's TV is now called Seesaw, which I think it had been called Watch with Mother or Listen with Mother previously. But on the 2nd of October, Thames airs a 10-hour telethon to raise money for good causes in the London area.
It's the ITV no, it come on to be nationally the ITV telethon after that. And I think I took part in the ITV telethon in 1987, where I pushed a shopping trolley from a place called Verwood to Bournemouth, the length of about 25 miles.
Dear.
I know.
That's a long way.
It's a lot. It is. I had chafing afterwards.
Bad.
That's not good.
The day before my birthday, 9th of November, season 4 of Dallas is shown. So that's resolving the Who Shot JR. We've already told you who that was. So apologies.
So you don't need to watch it now.
Apologies after we've told you for telling you something that happened 40-something years ago. There's something else about... the Broadcasting Act, which sort of paves the way for the arrival of Channel 4, but a lot of these things take at least 2 years to happen. So it's I think we've already talked about the arrival of Channel 4, but this is the arrival of the idea of Channel 4. But, there's something to do with LWT have sold a stake in their company to Rupert Murdoch or something. Well, my brain can't even take in it, so that's such a boring sentence. But if I just read it out, but I can't be bothered. 17th of November, BBC One debut the Jack and Nori spin-off Spine Chillers, which various actors read ghost stories from such authors as H.G. Wells and M.R. James.
I never remember that.
I do remember. I wonder if this is the one where... no, I'm not sure. I have seen some where it is reading M.R. James with Robert Powell doing it, but I can't see Robert Powell listed, so that obviously wasn't from Spine Chillers. The people who do read the stories include Freddie Jones, John Woodvine, Jonathan Price, Michael Bryant, Ronald Chetwynd Hayes. Yes, a lot of those people. Some of them read more. Most of them read more than one. But so where have we got to? Yes. The first annual Children in Need is broadcast on BBC One on the 21st of November. Although it did not broadcast the full evening until 1984, it was a series of short segments linking the evening programmes. So presumably in 1983, when the Doctor Who 20th anniversary special went out, then I guess that fits in with that, doesn't it? Because Doctor Who was a big chunk of the evening.
Had a slice. A healthy slice.
It's been a long time since I've watched Children in Need. I mean, I know it's all for good causes, but I don't have the patience to sit and watch something that goes on all evening. But I think I did in the past. But on the 22nd of November, 21.5 million viewers tune in to watch the episode of Dallas, which answers the question, who shot JR? Less than 18 hours after its showing in the States. At this time, the audience's figures are a record for a soap in Britain. On the 24th of November, the US sitcom Different Strokes begins. That's with Gary Coleman. I don't know how old that was by then. Oh, yeah, that was a little bit old. It was about 2 seasons in America. It ran from 78 to 85 on NBC, and then 85 to 86 on ABC. I sort of remember it being on and maybe watching I don't know if it was on at the same time as something else was about to start. I feel like I watched the beginning of a few episodes and either didn't like it and would turn it over quickly, or there was something else on that started a few minutes after it started, and I used to watch the first few minutes. It had a lot of kids in it. Well, at least some kids. And I don't really like kids. I didn't like kids then. I don't like kids.
I like kids.
So I wouldn't watch anything with kids in, really. I mean,
do you always find then kids' television dramas on kids' programs are terrible to watch?
The ones that feel they have to have kids in are pretty terrible. Whereas the things like Ace of Wands that didn't have any children in, and mostly Doctor Who doesn't have children in. Adric was probably the youngest companion, and he wasn't really a child. He was a teenager, almost an adult, really. So they never sort of, even though they say, oh, Doctor Who's some people call it a kids program, it never had lots of kids in it. It had young characters who were companions, but they weren't that young by any means. That was fine. That's how I wanted. I mean, I never liked romance plots and, the Scott Charlene business on Neighbours. That was probably the least interesting part of Neighbours for me. Even though I like the characters, I would just be more interested in if they were about to be kidnapped than if they were being kissed. Whereas maybe Mrs. Mangle having a romance would be more interesting because it was like, oh, there's an old person kissing having a
dropped her teeth. They've come out.
Although of course she probably wasn't much older than we are now. Really think about it, because she lived for years afterwards. So she probably looked old when we were young, but actually is probably our age. What else do we have? December, BBC Scotland carries out a 1-week experiment in breakfast TV called Good Morning Scotland.
They realised they were all pissed the night before, so they wouldn't be able to broadcast it because there'd be no one up.
On the 6th of December, ITV screened the 1978 Richard Lester film Robin and Marion with Sean Connery and Audrey Hepburn. I'm quite an Audrey Hepburn fan. That's one I've never seen because I think it's supposed to be Robin Hood when he's older, or probably Maid Marian when she's older. But I don't know. It may be a great film, but I don't know that I fancied it because it was most Audrey Hepburn films are sort of story. I mean, I suppose My Fair Lady is Pygmalion, but it's a sort of probably more mainstream version of that. I don't know. I've just never watched it. I'm sure I will one day, but just not that interested in Robin Hood, I suppose. On the 8th of December, the puppet series Button Moon made its debut on ITV.
Mr. Spoon in Button Moon.
And Peter Davison sung the theme tune. I forgot that he sort of he wasn't filming for Doctor Who at that point, was he? Not December 80.
December 1980. No.
I was always remember being quite embarrassed that Doctor Who was involved in this kids. Obviously, I didn't think of Doctor Who as a kids show, but obviously, Button Moon definitely was a kids show. I remember feeling quite embarrassed because people sort of came out at school that Peter Davison sung the theme tune. But
yes, but then again, he did the Tomorrow People Man for Alice, didn't he?
Yeah, but Man for Emily. Sorry,
yeah.
Yeah, but I was
who the hell is Alice?
I was blissfully unaware of the Tomorrow People, so I wasn't aware of that.
Ignorance is no excuses in the lies of the law. The lies of the law.
On the 9th of December, the single drama "The Flip Side of Dominic Hyde," his first broadcast, as played today. Isn't there a sequel to that as well?
Yes, another flip with Dominic Hyde. Yeah, I used to have this on video.
I feel like I've had a copy at some point. But...
Yeah, it was quite different for its time. It's about a time agent that is living in the 20th century, and with all the silly things that go with it. But he's only visiting, and he's like a time tourist. And there's some very good moments, and there's some outrageously bad moments. But then again, it was meant to be a one-off play, so.
I realised I made a mistake when I was talking about Ina Sharples earlier. I said she did her 20 years and she left. In my silly head, I thought that Coronation Street started in January 1960. It actually started in December 1960. So she didn't wait to do her 20 years.
She buggered off before getting her pension. Yeah. Perhaps she had a new set of rollers somewhere.
Because the 9th of December is the 20th anniversary of Coronation Street.
Where are we?
We've jumped to the 23rd of December. The US animated special Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is shown for the first time. Apparently, it's been shown.
I don't remember that.
No, apparently it's been shown again as recently as December 2020. But I don't even remember it in 1980. Let alone. I don't think I was a massive fan.
I must admit, over Christmas, I have never watched that much Christmas telly nowadays. I remember watching it as a kid, but nowadays I'm not sort of drawn by much of the telly. I suppose that's because if you've got a large DVD collection or a lot of podcasts to catch up on, Christmas is the ideal time to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
You heard us here, folks. Send the gift of a podcast to a family member near you.
I now watch the film Black Christmas, which I wouldn't have known in 1988.
You love that film, don't you? You do love that film.
It's just Christmas and death. It's the perfect pairing. We actually have a premiere on the 25th of December, which I think I can approve of, and quite a good Boxing Day film. I guess this fits in with what happened back in January. We have the 1974 James Bond film, The Man with the Golden Gun.
That is a good film. That is a good film.
That was a good thing to, because some years they've had really weird films on Christmas Day. And you think The Man with the Golden Gun is the sort of film you want to have on Christmas Day.
It is. Yeah.
It's one that everyone can watch. And on Boxing Day they had the 1975 disaster movie, The Towering Inferno. I mean, a little bit. Sort of anxiety-inducing, perhaps, but
it has to do with serious tongue firmly in cheek.
Yeah, but I would happily watch that. That certainly seems more exciting than some of the things that have come up on Christmas and Boxing Day. The next fact is very much a niche TV fan fact. On the 28th of December, the IBA announces the results of the 1980 franchise round. TSW will replace Westwood. TVS will replace Southern. ATV must restructure the company to create a separate East and West Midlands service.
That became Central. And
TVAM is awarded the contract to begin transmission in 1983. And on the 30th of December, the BBC announces that they'll be doing breakfast TV, breakfast time, but that doesn't start until January 83, although they get in there. I think you said before they get in there.
Selena Scott, etc. Frank Boff. Who was the weatherman?
Yeah, I can picture him, but I can't remember his name.
He still appears now and again, doesn't he? Yeah, he used to wear those weather jumpers.
And I can't remember. There was another mayor. male.
David Icke used to do the sport, but less spoken about David Icke, the better. Francis Wilson was the weatherman.
Yes, yeah. Other things that made their debuts: The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, which I don't know if that. That does come.
That makes it sound like a seedy porn film, soft
just
porn
a minute.
film.
That's different to the one I'm thinking of. It's an anime one. I don't remember that. I remember the Tom Sawyer one, which was live action.
Yes, I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all. There's something called Holocaust. It sounds in 1978. That's an American miniseries. There is a Buccaneer. These are all on BBC One. And what else we got? Golden Soak. What's that? That's an Australian British miniseries about mining engineers.
Oh, it wasn't what I thought it was then. Juliet got that one.
Juliet Bravo starts, runs for 6 years, 6 seasons. Oh Happy Band. That's a David Croft and Jeremy Lloyd sitcom. That's not one that is remembered, is it? It's got Harry Worth in.
Oh, no. Yes, I vaguely remember it, yeah.
Features the Aldershot Brass Ensemble. How nice. King Rollo begins. I remember.
Hey!
That only ran for 13 episodes. It's another one of those shows that feels like it ran for years because it kept being repeated. Morph gets his own series. Morph, the plasticine.
Yeah, he did not. At that moment in his career, his agent wasn't asking for too much money.
Yeah,
and he got and then he went on. Oh, we really should talk about Morph, and it started off with drink, didn't it? It started with alcohol, and then we've all seen that episode where he's falling down drunk. Yeah.
Last he was seen was just a ball lying in the corner.
Yeah.
They did a version of Tale of Two Cities in 1980.
Barnaby Rudge.
And To Serve Them All My Days. That was sort of an Australian British. Well, I didn't realise that was Andrew Davies. He adapted lots of things. He was involved with Very Peculiar Practice, wasn't he?
He was.
There's a version of Pride and Prejudice. There's the Enigma Files, whatever that is.
The Enigma Files was a sort of investigatory drama.
Police procedural. Tis pity she's a whore.
Sorry?
Tis pity she's a whore.
Right.
Isn't that an adaptation of something? Oh gosh, I tried to click on it and it says it can't reach this page. I don't think it's actually. I don't
think you want to reach that page.
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer, yeah, the guy who invented the nuclear bomb. And have you ever seen the outtake of the last scene? It's a really intense scene where he walks out of the Congress meeting into the corridor, and the last scene is of him walking down this corridor, and one of the stage, and it's been a really serious drama all the way through, and everyone's been really serious, and there's not been any laughs amongst the crew and anything like that. And this assistant foreman just walks up and slaps him in the face with a custard pie. Brilliant. Sorry, do carry on.
Did you see, which was a TV review show?
Yeah.
That was like a more serious version of Points of View, wasn't it, really?
Yeah. That was with Magnus Magnusson. No, it wasn't. It was with Ludo Kennedy.
Oh, yes.
Ludovic Kennedy.
Great Railway Journeys of the World. There's a version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in 1980, but it doesn't give you much information. Let's Keep It in the Family. Shillingbury Tales. That's a comedy drama. Hollywood. That's a documentary miniseries. Together. Oh, that's a soap. That was a Southern Television soap. I think that might come out on. I thought that came out on DVD, but it says that it's considered missing. So maybe it's not the show I'm thinking of. But oh no, one episode from each of the two series is considered missing. Okay, that's a bit different. I misread that. Yeah, it's one of those ones I kind of considered getting on DVD, but I don't know if it ever came out. It might have been one where you had to get it from a particular company rather than it turning up on Amazon. But why didn't they ask Evans? That's a Agatha Christie adaptation. The Gentle Touch starts. Crib. Young at Heart. The Nesbits are coming. Comedy show. For Maddie with Love. That sounds quite dark. It's dealing with Maddie's discovery that she has a brain tumour. Nari Dawn Porter and Ian Hendry. Cockleshell Bay. That's a stop-motion children's television series. The Other Half. That's a sitcom. It stars John Standing as upper-class Conservative politician Charles Latimer, who begins a relationship with working-class Cockney fashion model Lorraine. Oh, Lorraine Chase.
Lorraine Chase. It could only be Lorraine Chase, couldn't it? Were you wafted from paradise? Newton Airport.
There's a lot of comedy series. A lot that are no longer remembered. Sounding Brass.
Remember that? Yeah.
Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World.
Oh, frankly, I don't believe a word of it.
Yeah. The Munch Bunch. That was a
wasn't that based on a yogurt?
Yeah, I'm sure there was a yogurt that was based with those characters. Cream in My Coffee. That's Dennis Potter.
That's a euphemism.
Love in a Cold Climate. That sounds.
Oh yes, that's quite famous.
Rain on the Roof. That's another Dennis Potter. An audience with that series that used to be you'd have a famous person doing an audience with sort of invited guests.
Very tightly scripted as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't spontaneous.
No. Anyway, I think we ought to. There were a lot of other things that happened. I guess this is a transition considering where we're going. There are a few shows that ended in 1980. Very quickly, The Anedon Line, The Cuckoo Waltz, Shoestring, Citizen Smith, and this is Tom Sawyer again. I thought that's still the anime version. Another show that finished, and this is the transition. A show called Magpie ended in 1980.
Thames Television children's magazine program that rivaled Blue Peter, didn't it? Were you a Blue Peter fan or were you a Magpie fan?
I don't think I was necessarily a fan of either, but I think I watched Blue Peter. But I think I was interested in Blue Peter. Well, I think I said this before. I was interested in Blue Peter when it
for Leslie Judd. Yeah, I know.
Well, when there was like an interesting article about something like, or Doctor Who turned up or something. But it's one of those things that some weeks you'd be like, it's not very interesting this week. But okie dokie. Right, we're going to play some music, and when we come back, we'll be at the Magpie Hut. And you want to have a word with Yeti Uncle John, don't you? So
I do. I'm getting a bit concerned about Yeti Uncle John. He's up to it again. He's up to it.
Is he? Okay, listeners, we'll be there in a minute. Just have a listen, and we'll be back momentarily.
Just watch me shimmer. I'm a disco jellyfish. I'm so hot I almost simmer. I'm a jellyfish. I like to dance underneath the ocean down by the south of France. All the other fish, they simply stare 'cause I'm looking good. Yes, I just did my hair. I'm a disco jellyfish. Shimmer in the reef with my bestest happy smile, with my bright white jelly teeth. I'm a disco jellyfish, pulling shapes beneath the sea. Quite a mover that I am. There's no jelly quite like me. I'm a jellyfish. I'm quite a freak. I may be the kind of jelly that talent scouts too often seek. All the starfish, they simply gape. They are all jealous as I make a quick escape. I'm a disco jellyfish, steamy sway and bob about. I am so glad to be alive, you may even hear me shout. I'm a disco jellyfish, a bona fide bad behavior. Bet you wonder how I taste. Oh yes, what is my jelly flavor? I'm a disco jellyfish. I'm so cool, just watch me shimmer. I'm a disco jellyfish. I'm so hot, I almost simmer. I'm a disco jellyfish. I'm so cool, just watch me spin. I'm a disco jellyfish. I'm so hot, I always win. I'm a jellyfish. I make a splash underneath the waves, quick as a flash. All the other beasts, they just applaud. I am the real deal. I am no fraud. I'm a disco jellyfish. See me shimmer in the reef with my bestest happy smile, with my bright white jelly teeth. I'm a disco jellyfish, pulling shapes beneath the sea. Quite a mover that I am. There's no jelly quite like me. Disco jellyfish. Disco jellyfish. Watch me dance. Disco jellyfish. Disco jellyfish. Disco jellyfish. Down the south of France. Disco jellyfish.
Oh, guys, hello, how you doing? It's good to see you, Uncle Warren.
Yeti Uncle John, why is it we have to meet under these circumstances every time?
What do you mean? I don't understand.
Okay.
Warren, just before you start, we need to ask Yeti Uncle John, have you seen a budgerigar on the loose?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's important.
What? A budgery what? What are them budgery whats? Cromitty is looking after a budgerigar and it's escaped. We think it may have escaped. We just come this way. I don't want it to lead the magpies astray. I don't think it would lead the magpies astray, although we do think it was rather big for a budgerigar, didn't we, Warren?
More of a pterodactyl than a budgerigar.
Well, if you see it, please let us know. Cromitty is still doing a search. Hopefully it'll be fine, but oh dear, I do hope it doesn't come this way. Sorry, Warren, what am I supposed to have done this time?
I love the way you always become defensive. What have I supposed to have done?
Well, what is it? What's happened?
What's your favourite colour, Yeti Uncle John?
I don't know, sky blue pink.
Yes, well, some of that's right. How about blue? Since when have you become a chemist?
What?
What have you been producing blue pills?
Yeti Uncle John, what have you been doing? It's just a little pick-me-up, a gentleman's pick-me-up.
Yes, I tried one of your gentleman's pick-me-ups. I couldn't go out for a week. I was thinking of being used as a flagpole.
It's not meant to work like that. It's not supposed to have that effect.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm lucky the one didn't get stuck in my throat, wasn't it? I'd have a stiff neck all week. That's a really old joke, sorry.
Yeti Uncle John, these pills, where did you get them from? I have to say, it was something that Coconut Jim gave me. Said it was...
Really?
Yes.
Coconut Jim did not sell you these pills. You bought a gross of them online. I saw the receipt, and it says not for human consumption.
It's supposed to be. I was under the impression that they were used for gentlemen with moustaches, because in this sort of summer, a gentleman's moustache can get very limp because of the heat, and taking one of the blue pills is meant to perk up your moustache. That's what I was told.
Tell you what, it doesn't make your moustache curl at the ends. I can assure you of that. It does something else. It does something, but the problem is it doesn't have a short lifespan. A whole week I couldn't go outside the door.
Oh dear. Warren, I mean, you'll be glad to know that
it cast a shadow everywhere I went.
You'll be glad to know I've actually withdrawn them from sale. They were
going to use me as a sundial in the back of Buckingham Palace.
You'll be. There's the good news and bad news. The good news
is they're going to paint it white and use it as a semaphore sign.
The good news is that I've withdrawn them from sale because, as you rightly pointed out, they didn't have.
Yeah, you withdraw them.
They didn't have the effect on moustaches that I thought they were going to.
What did you expect they were going to do? Stiffen your resolve?
Well, I have some friends. Friends.
Yeah, I know about your friends. That's the problem.
I have some friends with moustaches who have very limp moustaches. And it's not easy to say that. I have friends with limp moustaches, and I was hoping to help them with this blue pill, which I got from the internet. And I thought it was going to be, but then I discovered that that's not what happened.
So these friends,
yes,
you gave them all a pill, did you?
Yes, and it wasn't their moustaches that remained pert, as you say.
Yes, something else happened.
There is bad news, though, and as you've taken
half a dozen people in my street took these pills.
And they were told not to go outside because they were a hazard to aircraft. They thought we were signalling them to land.
There is bad news, though.
Oh, no.
There is bad news.
I still haven't gone outside. Look at me. I have to put my chair at an angle. I got my computer on the table earlier today, and it kept sliding off.
I quite enjoyed the view, but I'm not saying anything. Uncle John, what is the bad news? You better tell us. Well,
yes, please.
It happens on the 7th day, so I don't know when. You obviously hasn't quite reached the 7th day. It won't last forever, but you will wake up and you'll find that you are blue from top to tail.
What?
Yes. So you'll have to stay in even longer until it wears off.
Blue?
Unless you want to audition to be a Smurf or something.
Oh, I could look through a smoky hole, I suppose, but I've been accused of that before.
Oh. I'm terribly sorry, Warren. I mean, I was led astray. They weren't the pills I thought they were. My limp, mustachioed friends are most disappointed with me. I had to refund them. I don't know how you got hold of
I'll tell you, and I can tell you, just you wait there. Here we are. Yeti Uncle John's patent pick-me-up. Make your curly edges stand up to attention.
Yeah,
Amazon and any other available online.
It's taking down. It's taking down now. I'm taking it down.
You can take it down. I can't.
I'm very sorry, Warren. I was led astray by suppliers.
Led astray.
It was one of the.
What were you led by? Money again.
It was one of them things where it was like one of them pyramid.
Hold on a minute. You haven't fed any of these to a budgerigar you might have seen, have you?
I threw them away.
Oh no! You know what's happened, Paul, don't you?
What?
Oh, you know why that budgerigar is so big, don't you?
Well, he's been eating them. Thought it was millet. Millicent thought it was millet.
Millicent has been pecking at his undoings.
Oh, where did you throw them? Get Uncle John. In the bins behind the house. So Millicent's going to go blue at some point.
Oh, so we're going to have a blue. Oh no. Oh, Yeti Uncle John. It's just I know you do things with all sincerity, and you think to yourself, one of my schemes will work one day. But really, seriously, you better make sure Millicent doesn't come looking for you. That's a big bird, I tell you. I want to take that on.
Well, I don't want to make light of it, but have you ever considered a career in blue movies? You'd have about 24 hours when you could do. Yeti Uncle John, it's too soon. Well, it's not even too soon. Too soon. It hasn't happened yet. So
Yeti Uncle John, start running. I'm loading my gun.
Sorry.
Give me the blunderbuss, someone. Give me the blunderbuss.
Warren, sorry. Oh dear. Listeners, I think we've run out of time. We're going to have to go, and I'm going to have to try and stop Warren shooting Yeti Uncle John. Is that a gun, or is that... Anyway, it's time to go.
I'm just pleased to see you, Paul.
Oh, dear. We will be back. That's if something bad hasn't happened. Because we have to go and check in on Comedy, but we'll say goodbye for now. And are you giving Yeti Uncle John a little bit of a head start?
I'm tamping. Tamping. He's going to be Yarooed, Terry Scott style.
Oh dear. Right. Bye for now, listeners, and we'll be back whenever this business gets sorted out.
Bye,
Right.
everyone.
Bye for now. Goodbye. Bad news. We've not been able to find Millicent.
Sorry, Cromarty. We have really tried.
Yeah, I had to stop Warren shooting Yeti Uncle John. Was that actually loaded, or was it one of those guns that comes out with a bang flag?
No, I put bread pellets in it.
Oh, that's right. Last scene, Yeti Uncle John was swimming down the canal at breakneck speed. Oh dear, what did he do? He was fucking around with some pills that weren't what he thought they were, and poor Warren is.
That's why you can only see me putting my head round the door when I was talking to you, and when you gave me a hug, that's why things were slightly.
Oh, I did wonder.
Disarrayed.
You look a little pale, Warren. Are you okay? That's another thing. I think the last effect of the pill is beginning to kick in, and Warren's gone a bit blue. That's one of the side effects of the pill.
It's like I've appeared on Charlie in the Chocolate Factory.
It's sort of.
I'm gonna absolutely murder him when I get hold of him.
It sort of suits you, though. I think I quite like it. It matches my eyes. But anyway, I have some good news. You have some good news.
Some good news. Brilliant. Like we could do with some good news.
Because we were a bit worried. Have you found her? Yes, I know where Millicent is.
Oh, good.
Is she looking okay? We were a bit worried she might have eaten some of these pills that Yeti Uncle John, apparently he chucked them away behind the flat. And we were worried that Millicent, had eaten them. I don't think so, not that I'm aware of. No, she was, as we... it turns out that she had swallowed a bit of a little potion that I had been making that turns people invisible. And she drank a little bit of it, and it made her invisible. But I found her. I had an awful shock when she flew into me. And I couldn't see her, but she should.
Could I borrow some of this potion to rub on certain parts of me? I think I might need to for the rest of the week.
He's going to be wandering around like the headless horseman because,
definitely won't be able to see my head.
Oh goodness me, Warren! Oh,
it'd be a shock for the window cleaner when I open the window and knock him off his ladder. I'll tell you.
I think I might have to sit down. Oh gosh!
No, careful! Don't sit there. I can't move very well.
Oh dear! I think I can hear the theme music. Oh, sorry, did I tread on it? Sorry. It's time to say goodbye. Oh, well, I think we'll be back one more time, but I can hear the theme music. But anyway, well, I'm glad Millicent's back, Cromarty.
Yes, that's really good news. Millicent's back.
Oh dear! Well, I thought my friend was going to be very cross, but oh dear. Anyway, I've got to get back to teaching her those dance steps once she appears, when she returns to visibility. Okay, right. Thanks, Cromarty. Oh.
Bye, Cromarty.
Oh dear.
I gotta go now. Bye.
I want to go with you.
Gotta go. Bye.
Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye,
Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Yes, goodbye.
Wow, really? No kidding.
Thank you, darling, and you too. Bye-bye.
This show is part of the Pride 48 network. Find more shows over at pride48.com.
What's going on now? Oh, it's the Shy Life Podcast. Let's go.
I have a voice.
I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice.
We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UnivazPods.net. That is so cringe, oh my god.
You're a man of culture as well.
Oh dear, Warren. I'm sorry. Yes, I didn't realise that his younger John had been up to more tricks. I'd heard about that.
We should know better, shouldn't we? And I should know better than to buy any of the products that he puts online. I mean, really, I should have known. But hey, these come up. These things come up. Well, this one did anyway.
Yeah. I'd heard about the Kylie Minogue knockoff singles, but I hadn't heard about the blue pills.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I'm sorry you've been affected as well as the poor mustachioed gentleman. I mean, I'm sure there's something you can do with it whilst you've got it. And blue is one of my favourite colours. So actually, I'm beginning to find you quite attractive, strangely. But I think I might need to go and lie down along with Croberty. But
well, in that case, I'm going to wave goodbye. And
yes.
Here's my hand waving.
Oh, is that your hand? That's your hand. Okay, that's your hand. Right. Yes, it's time to go, listeners. I don't know. This episode is going to get an 18 rating, I think, at this stage. But oh dear. All right. Thanks again, Warren. I'm so sorry.
No. It's my pleasure to appear on your program.
Yes, on my audio program.
and meet the family. It's hard to describe the things that we've seen, we've done today.
Yeah,
it was a wonderful experience.
Hopefully,
Duck. I'm moving in that direction. Sorry.
Quack.
Hopefully, I nearly got the china off the mantelpiece. Then,
hopefully, the listeners will just imagine what's going on, or not. It'll depend on the listener's imagination how rude this episode actually is.
Absolutely.
Okay. Goodbye, listeners, and goodbye, Warren.
Bye-bye. Thanks. Bye-bye, listeners.
Bye.
Now that one was funny.
I don't know. It's like he puts out 20,000 episodes a month.
Oh, kitty, kitty, kitty. Kitty, kitty, kitty. Oh, I love Dee. This is just the weirdest thing I've ever heard. Well, gotta tell you, I didn't expect that.
What the hell just happened on this show? I mean, seriously, reverse it, because I lost. What's going on? What happened?
115. Oh dear, what your nose? It's so big, unbelievably big. Oh, that pill that really has affected you. Oh dear, Paul, poor old Warren. That pill definitely affected his nose, didn't it? It did. Oh, that pill has left him with a big blue nose. Oh, it has, yes. Oh gosh, I'm sure some listeners thought we were referring to other things that might have grown unfeasibly large. But no, we were talking about his nose. What on earth could the listeners have thought we meant? Only listeners with the most dirty minds could have thought we were talking about something else. Yes, that's what I was thinking. Oh dear. But some listeners are just like that, aren't they? They are. Well, hopefully his nose will go back to normal soon. I do hope so. I really do. Oh gosh. You don't think the listeners would really have thought that way? I'm sure they realised we meant his nose. Oh yes, I'm sure. Our listeners are good, clean living individuals, aren't they? Yeah, of course, absolutely. They couldn't possibly have thought we were talking about... Oh dear. No, not at all. Ah, well. That was beautiful,
We'll have to edit around this bit, you know.
Et voilà.